All right, hey everybody. Today is Monday, May 18th, 2026. My name's Luther Wilson III, also known as the Real Estate Extraordinaire. And in today's video, I'm gonna talk more about what I do as a real estate practitioner, okay? So throughout the years, I've had colleagues, friends, family members ask me what I do. And I remember on at least one or two occasions, I had some friends that I would try to tell them what I do. And one of them in particular responded, okay, so what do you really do though? And I kind of got a kick out of it. And I thought it'd be fun to kind of dig into some of the stuff that I do day to day, week to week as a real estate practitioner. For those who've been tuned in, you kind of maybe have a general idea, but I kind of want to take it a little bit deeper than just the stuff that you might think of that a real estate professional might do, right? And so before I get into that, I feel like it'd be good for me to talk a little bit more about my background as well. I grew up in the real estate industry, okay? So both my parents have been in the game since like 1990, 1991. My father as a real estate investor and my mom as a realtor. And they are still active in one capacity or another doing real estate to this day. And so as a kid, growing up, watching my parents, seeing how they move in the space, meeting some of their friends and clients and so forth, I was able to observe and pick up quite a bit, okay? And I don't know when, but at some point, I just kind of knew and made the decision like, okay, real estate is what I want to do when I grow up. I don't necessarily know how that might look. At the time, didn't necessarily know which route I was going to take, but I kind of knew like I was going to be selling real estate and investing in real estate at some point in my future, right? From at least middle school, high school. And I remember cutting grass at some of my dad's rental properties. My mom and I would cut the grass at some of my dad's rental properties, okay? And my mom would bring me along to some of her open houses that she would host. And I would put on door hangers with my mom throughout the neighborhood where she was hosting the open house. And it was a pretty neat experience looking back on it. And I eventually went to college, right? And I studied entrepreneurship in real estate and got a bachelor's degree in it. And that was in 2008. And then out of college, for those that were around 2008, 2009 was pretty wild. It was pretty crazy with the economy and the real estate market. And so I wanted to get a job in real estate, but I remember applying for about 100 different jobs at least in the summer of '08 through 2009, 2010 even. And throughout that process, during that time frame, I did end up doing my first couple deals, okay? My first deal that I did was a second lien position note that I purchased from my dad in 2008. I was still in college. I hadn't graduated yet. I was able to use some of my school loan money to buy that first investment. And then the next deal that I did was 2009. I bought a property, my first primary residence that I lived in. I bought that from my dad, and I was able to purchase it subject to the existing financing. And around that time, our administration was offering government incentives for first-time home buyers. So I got $8,000 to buy that first home. That was 2009. And then I eventually turned that primary residence into an investment property, of course, after I moved out, okay? And we did seller financing in the form of a contract for deed. in 2011. So I was able to get some experience toward the end of my college, life. And then upon graduating college, I was able to do some stuff, but I really didn't get serious about real estate until around 2011. And it was a good buddy of mine who reached out and said, hey, I know that, you've done some real estate stuff. Your parents have been doing it for years. How about we sit down with your dad and, see if we could put something together. So a buddy of mine and we got together, and he and I rocked together for maybe 2 years, and we tried our hand at wholesaling, and we were able to do 2 different creative finance transactions. One was subject to the existing financing, and one was a true seller carryback, and that was 2011 through 2013. And then eventually 2014 got licensed as a real estate agent, and I worked for a couple property management companies, because all along the way, I just knew, like, hey, if I'm going to invest in real estate, I kind of understand the investment process on the residential side. So how about I, see what it's like to work for property management firms. And that way I'm directly connected with several investors who I'm helping get through that process, managing their rentals, helping them, sort through make-readies. And then it led to also some sales as a real estate agent. And, fast forward, starting a number of property management companies, starting a couple brokerages. It wasn't until 2018 when I really started to look more at the different types of capital for real estate investing. And that's when I really started to put the word out there and was more intentional about wanting to use other people's money to do real estate. And I was able to connect with some people, and we, did quite a few deals together. And I was able to do that with multiple investors over the last almost 8 years now. And so, which brings us to today. There's a lot that I could get into, different things that happened along the way, partnerships, relationships, client challenges, and so forth. And I have definitely alluded to it and gotten into it on some of the previous videos, okay? So you can, track me on social media, pretty active on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as well, okay? But today, I don't know if I said it, it's May 18th, Monday, 2026 already. And it's quite a bit different what I do now for various reasons. But a big thing that I do as a real estate practitioner is a lot of outreach. It's a lot of networking. It's a lot of connecting with individuals, reconnecting, or following up with people who I've met or helped with something real estate related in the past. And it's really a lot of relationship building, checking in with people, seeing if they need assistance with anything, seeing if they know someone besides themselves. Maybe they are looking to buy or sell. They may want to exit a current investment. They may need assistance with a seller finance transaction, okay? They may want to sell an investment property, okay? But how things look today, right? I'm a licensed real estate broker for the states of Kansas and Missouri, so that's one thing. I am what you might consider to be a loan broker. So for real estate investors, I'm able to help them source and secure capital for their investment properties. Okay, I'm still an investor, not quite as active. Okay, so I haven't purchased an investment property since early 2023, but I still have some of my current holdings. Okay, so that's the other thing. So there's the sales, there's the lending, and there's the investments. Okay, so that's kind of my thing, my niche, of course, is investment properties, investor relations, investment operations with my background as a property manager and project manager. Okay, so as you can see, it's kind of all tailored around residential real estate investments. Okay, so and part of that is I work with other service providers. Okay, so I mentioned before, my mom is a real estate agent. Okay, so when an opportunity comes my way, right, I might be able to get her connected or refer business to her. Okay, so I know quite a few investors that do fix and flip, or they renovate and resell properties. Okay, it's not really my thing, but I still may get connected with an investor that needs assistance with something. And that's a big thing. If my client or customer needs to sell a property that they recently rehabbed, I'm going to, more often than not, refer them to my mom. Okay, great. If there is an investor that comes along and they need assistance with a renovation project or perhaps property management, I'm going to refer them to one of my other agents. Her name's Sophia. Okay, so she's a local real estate broker as well. She owns and her team runs a property management firm. I've done 9 renovation projects with Sophia and her crew. Okay, so that's another thing. So so my one of my business associates also, we refer to each other as business partners, even though she has her own company, I have my own company. Okay, that's for the lending aspect. Her name is Trishelle. I refer or connect all the leads who need investor financing to Trishelle. Okay, cool. She can handle commercial real estate, new construction real estate. Of course, you got the residential short-term funding, which could be competitive or beat out. You might get better rates and terms than hard money on the short-term debt, is what I'm trying to say. And then of course you got the long-term financing, whether it's a non-QM loan, a DSCR loan, or some type of long-term funding for real estate investors. Okay, so that's kind of my team. Those are my go-tos. That's who I communicate with regularly, right? And then beyond that, right, I still to this day have what you might consider to be a virtual Rolodex of contractors. I have a couple different people I could reach out to for roofs. There's at least 2 people I could reach out to for a foundation issue, and everything in between. There are 2 different HVAC people that I could reach out to for that type of service. If it's a plumbing need, there's at least 3 or 4 different plumbers that I've worked with over the last 15 years that I've been at this thing who I could refer to, right? And then you get the idea. If it's going to be flooring, paint, okay, upgrades to a bathroom or a kitchen, I could reach out to Sophia, who I mentioned before. I could reach out to Michelle. Those are some of my go-to people, right? So as a big thing that I do now is this YouTube channel, okay? So once a week I do a video, okay? This is 100 weeks in a row. Part of this is the way I see it, it's almost like free marketing. I'm active on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, doing posts every single day at this point, sometimes, 6 to 10 times a day, right? That is a lot of marketing energy and time. Doesn't take a whole lot of time, but it's definitely marketing energy and efforts that goes into the outreach. So people know that, hey, Luther is still at it. He, is doing his thing. Like if I know that if I have a need, I can reach out to him. His family is in that space. He's pretty well connected. He might be able to help, us get through the process. Okay. And so that's a lot of it lately is marketing. And once I do get someone that reaches out, like for example, I had a gentleman reach out on LinkedIn. He sent me a message 2 days ago. He's looking for funding and financing for some of his business clients. Okay, great. I sent him a LinkedIn message following up, asking him a little bit more about what he is needing. He responded today saying what he needs. And okay, on that previous message, I made it clear like, hey, here's the gist of what we can do for funding and financing for real estate investors. However, it's my business partner that handles most of that. So based, on what you're needing, right, I can get you connected with my lending partner, right? So later today, I'm gonna need to send an email connecting this potential client, right, to my lending partner. So it's a lot of communication. Outreach via text message, that's been huge for me lately. I haven't been doing quite as much email because I think it's, in today's economy, today's market, just the vibe, based on what's happening in the US, globally, the sentiment. What's the vibe? Are people more on social media apps? Which platform is kind of hot, right? Are people, something I said to my mom yesterday when I was at brunch with her, I said, hey mom, I don't know if you've noticed or maybe you have, it seems like people are not necessarily as receptive to phone calls today. Go figure, right? Whatever the case is, whatever reasons that may be behind that. So I'm like, okay, let me go in on text message pretty hard for a while. And that's the thing, it switches. Throughout the years, we still want to invest in real estate. We still want to sell real estate. Investors still need funding and financing, but the marketing channels may shift a little bit. Again, the sentiment, how open and receptive individuals are to certain forms of communication and or marketing switches over time too. So we have to stay open. So I stay flexible, right, and adaptable, because as I've said before, real estate, the industry is kind of like this ever shifting, changing, and evolving thing. And we really need to stay connected with the public, the community, and it helps if we can stay tapped in with technology, at least to a certain degree, right? And then, of course, staying connected with individuals who are making stuff happen and who are looking to make stuff happen. Again, whether they're looking to buy, whether they're looking to sell, whether they need to get through renovation, right? Whether they need funding and financing for their investments, however that looks. That's kind of what I do, okay? So I don't want to go too long on this first one. I had a feeling that this might end up being a series of sorts where I get into more of what I do as a real estate pro, but that's kind of the gist of it. I know on my social media videos, I tend to do shorter form, and I think last week and the week before I talked a little bit about what I do, but I wanted to reserve the longer form stuff for here on YouTube. So stay tuned. On a future video, I'm definitely going to talk more about what I've been working on lately as far as investor connections, communication, and then also what it looks like as I am taking an investor client through that process, because there are quite a lot of nuances. There are some moving parts that don't get seen, they go unnoticed. Okay, so this will hopefully illuminate some things, right? Part of it is definitely self-serving. It's just free marketing, again, like I said before. But another key part of it is I want my clients to know that when they get billed a 4-figure or 5-figure fee, that they know why, that they can see the service, they can see the time and the energy, and they can see what goes into this process, so that they can realize like, wow, I cannot do this on my own. And wow, Luther and his team are offering a lot of service. And wow, I may not be able to get that transparency and that authenticity and that realness and someone really going to bat for me. I may not be able to get that elsewhere, okay? So thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you as always. Have a blessed day, have a blessed week, and hope to see you soon. All right, peace.